Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. I think I'm going to have to move some things around here in this hour. We have time. We've got 3 segments. I'm going to have to do some listening to something I just saw on Twitter about 11 seconds before my mic turned on in this hour. Sounds like Dave Portnoy, the president of Barstool Sports. I guess he sold Barstool Sports, then bought it back. But either way, Michigan man, big Michigan booster. And sounds like he is spilling the beans on the end of the Bryce Underwood recruitment that involves he and Larry Ellison, the CEO, owner, founder, whatever, way up the line at Oracle, 5th richest man in the world, apparently. So I'm going to have to listen to some of that and then give my reaction to it a little bit later on in the show. But it's one of those deals where it just came across my feed, and I want to get to it, but I can't speak to it with any authority right now because I haven't listened to it. So in the 2:30 segment, I will go ahead and listen and listen to that and react to it accordingly. Let's start the hour with a little bit of Saints football. I can come up with some real reasons for a lot of the Saints' issues this year. Clearly, number one, there was a culture issue in the building that has become very, very evident since Dennis Allen has moved on. Clear? Yeah. I can come up with a pretty good explanation for the Saints' passing game kind of flatlining. Your offensive line was in shambles. Chris Olave has had multiple concussions. Rashid Shaheed got hurt. You were playing with guys that you signed off the street, like MVS. Like, I get why the Saints have had some issues in the passing game. I understand the running game issues. Taysom Hill went out. Your offensive line was banged up. Got it. Makes a lot of sense. But I can't quite explain with as much clarity why the Saints have not rushed the passer better than they have this year. And that's something I think they need to do Sunday and moving forward. And it's not just the sack number at 25. That's 23rd in the league in terms of sacks. And I can kind of explain that away to an extent, because if you lose 7 games in a row, a lot of times you're behind. A lot of times teams are just running it on you. You're not going to pile up a lot of just sacks. And that can slightly explain the 25 sacks, which is 23rd in the league. But that doesn't explain pass rush win rate. And that's a next-gen stat, and it's something that they chart weekly. And I just take their word for it, but I feel like they're probably not just making it up. The Saints only win on 34% of their pass rushes. That is 28th in the NFL. The only teams worse than New Orleans in pass rush win rate this year, Atlanta, who's had a terrible defense, Carolina, who is the worst franchise in the league, Jacksonville, who's right there with them, and then Arizona, who's actually had a good year, but they're not rushing the passer very well. That's not the company you want to keep rushing the passer. And it surprised me a little bit because I haven't looked at this week, and really not even last week because the Saints didn't have a game, and I wasn't diving into a lot of Saints statistics last week. We were talking about a lot more bigger picture things with New Orleans after that second win and kind of where things go from here. We talked about whether or not they can make the playoffs. We talked about whether or not Darren Rizzi was a viable candidate to stay as the head coach and to keep Clint Kubiak. We did a lot of big picture, not a lot of like statistical analysis. And I'm back in that now as I start looking at this Rams game. Brian Brzee leads the Saints in sacks. He's got 5.5. If I extrapolate that out a little bit more and Brian Brzee ends the year with like 8 sacks, that's really nice go of it in year 2 for your first-round draft pick. I think that's excellent. Now, you got to get there. He's got 5.5, but that's pretty good work from the interior of the defensive front. Carl Granderson only at 4.5 sacks. Now, those can come in bunches, and if he has a 3-sack game here at some point and then finishes with that requisite, that 10 that you're kind of looking for out of him, I would suggest that that's a good go. But Chase Young hasn't been uber effective, just 3.5 sacks. Had the one strip sack in the Atlanta game that was a really impactful play, but hasn't shown up as much as we thought. I lauded that move when they made it to get Chase Young. I said, look, I don't know if the Saints are going to be very good, but this is such a low-risk maneuver that does have high upside because he's one of the most gifted physical freaks in the NFL. When he's healthy, he can be a terror. And I think he's been healthy. He just hasn't been wildly productive. I wouldn't say it's been a bust of a signing, and he has made some plays in the run game. But 3.5 sacks at this point is disappointing, I would say, for him. And then you've got Peyton Turner, who's added 2. You've only had 1 from Cam Jordan. And it's just not enough collectively. And this is a group with Bryce and with certainly Granderson and then potentially Young that you could have theoretically kind of tried to build around if you could re-sign Young. I don't think anybody has delusions of grandeur at this point that Cam Jordan's going to refine his ability to rush the passer and come up with a 9 or 11 sack season. Those days are gone. He had a career worst year last year. This one's going to be worse than that. Now, he wasn't playing as many snaps. He has played more since Dennis Allen was fired. But the point remains, Cam Jordan's time as a Pro Bowl player is done. He's going into the Saints Hall of Fame. He might go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But his time as a productive pass rusher is done. But there are some guys here that you would hope would be impact pieces moving forward. You haven't seen anything from Isaiah Foskey. And you signed a couple defensive tackles in free agency before the year, and it hasn't been great. So I just feel like this is an aspect that the Saints need to improve on. In the same way that I feel like the offensive line is making strides, I feel like the defensive line is backing up a little bit. For so long, the Saints were really, really good on the edges and in the middle. They were elite in run defense. They did a good job of rushing the passer. And now I look up, and it's not necessarily that productive. And you look at this Rams team that the Saints will play on Sunday, and they like to throw the football. Sean McVay wants to throw the ball. They're 9th in the NFL in pass attempts. They've got a rookie. And it's a team that is going to lean on throwing the football. But the Saints have to prove they can get after the passer to create some negative plays. I'm as gung-ho as anybody to see these Saints corners, Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry, continue to work through the last month and a half of the season because I want to see kind of what you've got back there. A lot of this is just evaluating some of the young pieces. And I think Bryce has been good, and I think Granderson has got a chance. But as a whole, this group has not done a great job of getting after the passer. And when you're 28th in the NFL in pass rush win rate, you're not affecting the quarterback enough to be a championship level team. There just aren't a lot of teams in the NFL, the way the game is played now, that can't win in the pass rush game and can be elite level teams. And you're seeing that with the teams I rattled off that aren't winning in the pass rush, and the Saints are right there lumped in with them. And oh, by the way, they lost 7 games in a row. So I'll be looking for some of that in the game on Sunday, see if the Saints can't get back there and make some plays against a quarterback that doesn't move great at this point in his career. We'll see. Saints will play the Rams in the Superdome coming up on Sunday. You can catch that over on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, this weekend. All right, we'll step aside. I'm going to talk LSU football in the next segment. If I get enough information from Dave Portnoy in the 3-minute break, I will talk about the Bryce Underwood flip now. If I don't, we will save that until 2:30, and we'll talk another aspect of LSU football here. We'll see. I've got 3 minutes to power listen and read. We'll do that and see what comes out on the other side. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com. When you go to the dealership at Genesis of Baton Rouge, you're not going to feel like a customer. You're going to feel like a guest. That's twofold. One, because the setting is so nice. It feels like a 5-star hotel. in the showroom there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. The ambiance is great. It's quiet. They've got a stream that's got some rocks there. They've got a really quiet place near the service aisle. Got a great coffee machine and a bunch of snacks. That's one part of it. But the other part is that their brand ambassadors are such wonderful, experienced people to work with. And they'll help you every step of the way. They're not going to be pushy. They're not going to be in your face. They're not going to be upselling you. They're just going to help. And you just let them know what it is that you're interested in, and they'll get you behind the wheel of the Genesis that fits your needs best. Every single vehicle in this line was given the IIHA top safety pick. Some of them were top safety picks plus. So if safety is number one on your list, Genesis of Baton Rouge should be right there on your list. They're stylish, they're sleek, they're comfortable, they drive wonderfully, and they're extremely safe. It's a luxury vehicle. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
All right. So if you were just listening and I teased what this segment was going to be, if I could come up with enough information to form a segment out of it, I was going to talk about Dave Portnoy and Bryce Underwood. I listened to the clip. It was 2 minutes and 51 seconds in a 3-minute commercial break. So I heard what was clipped and put on the internet from Barstool. It's their, let's see, what's the show called? It doesn't matter. It's a college football pick'em show. And Dave Portnoy said, and for those that aren't familiar with Barstool, I'll quickly lay it out there. Barstool is an internet company that covers sports. They do comedy. They're off color at times. They're irreverent at times. But they have a massive presence on the internet. And Dave Portnoy is the head of it and has hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's he was on their pick'em show. This was probably a month and a half ago when Michigan couldn't complete a pass. And he said on the show that I'm never going to let this happen again. I will put my own money up to make sure that Michigan gets a quarterback. He's looking at Cam Ward in Miami. He's looking at Jaden Daniels at LSU. He's looking at all these schools that have got transfer quarterbacks that are winning games, and Michigan's got nothing at quarterback. And he goes, I'm not going to let that happen again. So that was a popular comment on the internet and something that a lot of people went to. And you weren't really sure how it was going to shake out. And Portnoy lays out how this worked. He got a phone call from the Michigan football team. He didn't say who called him, in what capacity. He said, there's someone that wants to talk to you. Her name is Jolyn. She's a big Michigan fan. And Portnoy says to the Michigan football program, I'm doing this by myself. I'm going to handle this. I don't really need to take calls from like people that are just fans of Barstool and like Michigan. Like, this is some pretty high level stuff. Like, I'm going to handle this with my cash. And they said, well, her husband is a man named Larry Ellison. And Portnoy goes, huh? Okay, I'll take the call from the Oracle family. So that night they get on a Zoom call. It's Portnoy and it's the two Ellisons. And Dave says, hey, Larry, where'd you go to school? He says, I went to Illinois. Okay. Jolyn, where'd you go to school? I went to school at Michigan. And I went to school at Michigan when Brady Hoke was the coach. And we stunk, and I'm never going to sit through that again. And I just need someone that's as passionate as me about Michigan football to fix this. And Dave said, okay, well, why don't we set up a Zoom call with Bryce Underwood? So they did, and Bryce Underwood's family took the phone call. And Portnoy talks about how they were pitching Bryce Underwood. And if you listen to this clip, which we don't have, obviously, I just saw it, and I just had to listen to it in the break. But basically, Portnoy explains the goings-on of that call. They are pitching Bryce Underwood on a Barstool collaboration. Oh, by the way, the end of this week on Friday, Barstool will have Bryce Underwood merchandise for sale, and he will receive all the proceeds from the sales, cash. And sold him on money from Oracle to the tune of $12 million. And I don't know, Michigan put out a thank you tweet when Underwood flipped, that said thank you to the Ellison family and the 11,000 members of the Michigan Collective. I don't know if Ellison came up with all of this 12.5. I don't know if Portnoy chipped in one. I don't know if they went half on it and they took money from the other 11,000 people. Like, I'm not sure exactly how this pooled together. But my gut tells me, in just listening to this Dave Portnoy bragging session that he put on the internet that's going to get a bajillion clicks and make him more money, and then they'll sell more Bryce Underwood t-shirts and the machine just runs. But the conversation between Dave Portnoy, Larry Ellison, Joel Ellison, and Bryce Underwood sold this. There was no mention in the clip that I saw. Now, I'm just reading this, and I wasn't there. I wasn't in Ann Arbor. I wasn't in Miami. I don't even know where the Ellisons live. San Francisco, probably, because that's where all the Oracle stuff is, but how do I know? They can live wherever they want if they got $300 billion. It doesn't sound like Sharon Moore was very involved in any of this. It doesn't sound like Connor Stallions was very involved in any of this that got it to the finish line. That could be wrong. I don't know. But I'm reading the tea leaves. It sounds like this is what it sounds like to me. You're all going to go, duh, but it's like we're getting the actual information from the horse's mouth. It sounds like LSU recruited Bryce Underwood for 3 years. It sounds like they formed a great relationship with him, developed a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, got him to campus a dozen times, put an incredible class around him and using NIL dollars, made him a very lucrative NIL offer to an 18-year-old. All of that happened to secure his commitment and deter him from taking any visits anywhere else. And the owner of Barstool Sports, a Michigan alum, and a woman who married a rich guy who likes Michigan football and just has limitless money, said, well, we just go get the quarterback. What's his Skype number? What's his Zoom? How do we get to him? And then they just did it on their own. And most of you that are listening are going, well, duh, I could have told you that. Well, I'd like to at least hear that the Michigan coaching staff got back on the phone with him and had some different things to say, and that included the NIL offer. Not just that, well, here's Dave Portnoy and a rich guy's wife who went to Michigan in the early 2000s, and yeah, can you take this phone call? Joe Sloan's calling. He's going to talk to you about the way that they'll develop you for the NFL and the type of offense you want to run. Portnoy's got a T-shirt sale coming up on Friday, and you'll get the proceeds of that. And Oracle stock's pretty good. We'll make it work for you. And that right there, to me, is all of my worst fears. Because, and this is a little bit of a rehash, but this is a development in the story. What have I always said to y'all? Always, always, always. College football, college basketball, college baseball, conference realignment, rule changes, NIL, selection committees, net rankings, any change that ever happens in collegiate athletics, what is my first reaction? Well, how does that affect LSU trying to win a championship? That may not be the right way to go about it. You may be supposed to think about what's fair to this person and what's best for the sport and its growth, and all that's probably the right thing to look at. It's never going to be what I look at. I just look at LSU. That's all I care about. Period. And when this became real, my fear, and I think I said this on the radio, was that instead of the under-the-table cash that inevitably was flying around, that it stands to reason it would have to be a little bit less significant so as not to be so obvious. In an era where that no longer is the play, and you can say, hey, he signed my napkin, I can give him $8 million. I never felt like that was going to be super advantageous to LSU. And that is the actual realization of that fear. That LSU staff did everything right, and people that are just rich won the day with no ability. It's the poker analogy that I used. I don't know who the World Series of Poker champion is. I have no idea who it is right now. But I personally, Hunt Palmer, do not know if a flush beats a full house or vice versa. I have no idea.
It's a full house.
But if you give me $1 million chips and you give the World Series of Poker winner 20,000 in chips, I will beat his brains in. Because I will put him all in on every single hand and I will win.
At some
Eventually,
point.
I will win a hand. And if he who has the gold eventually is going to make the rules. And when you're I just assumed when I read this piece that the Oracle guy went to Michigan. He went to a conference rival of Michigan. His wife went to Michigan, and she wants a quarterback, and he's got so much money. Who cares? So I'll just give this 18-year-old who I've never heard of, who might be good or might not be good, $12 million because my wife's a little bit cranky that Michigan's passing games last in the Big Ten. I realize that there are a lot of y'all listening who think this is so. We all knew that from the start. Why are we even rehashing this? Saying all of this out loud sounds nuts to me. I mean, it just does. It sounds nuts. I'm not suggesting that boosters with funds supporting and bending the rules so their team gets an advantage is new. It's not. But the dynamics of this, so out in the open, so public, and so odd, are amazing.
This will be ending, though, correct?
It'll be ending. Well, no, I don't believe so. And this is, again, we're going towards the Wild West again. I don't know. But I think the revenue share is just going to be the baseline. You can revenue share with the next 5-star quarterback, but that doesn't stop the Oracle. I don't even know what his position is at Oracle. Top of the food chain, Oracle, whatever it is, CEO, president, owner, whatever. It doesn't stop them from still giving additional money.
Okay. I thought it was going to be.
It's not a salary cap.
Okay, I thought there was going to be like a cap, but maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know if that's legal.
I don't know.
You can't stop people. That's the whole ruling that got this move forward. You can't stop people from earning. The NBA can put a salary cap on its league for competitive balance, but that doesn't mean that LeBron can't go sign with Nike and just make more money. You can't cap earnings. So I just feel like while the collective bargaining is going to be somewhat of an equalizer in the big picture, the Bryce Underwoods of the world, the Chris Seneks of the world we talked about in the first hour that have the ability to make money because he's a top 10 player in the country, those guys are still going to garner additional funds in the open market. Now, what those additional funds look like, I don't know. Because and look, if Oracle's involved, it doesn't matter. But to a lot of people that are wealthy but don't have $300 billion like this guy, there eventually becomes an amount of millions where, like, I don't really want to do this anymore because there's zero financial gain from this. Like, you're not getting a return on the investment. The only return is winning games. And these folks that have made all this money, they generally invest to get a return financially back on things.
Okay, so I'm reading that with the antitrust settlement that the proposed settlement will cap the amount of money that NCAA schools can spend in compensation for the use of student athletes' name, image, and likeness.
Correct. So the schools will be capped at the 20.
Yeah,
and then the business owners can come in and do whatever.
The cap will increase on a yearly basis, whatever, during the 10-year agreement.
So, it's that's a wild story. I sometimes I feel like when I'm talking into this microphone, I feel like I'm hearing the listeners talk back to me, even though I'm very much not. And it feels like there's a lot of people that are listening going, you're just rehashing a story that we already knew from 2 weeks ago. And I don't see it that way. I think that the unearthing of that it was a Barstool, Oracle, non-Michigan coaching staff-led conversation purely based around money. That's just tough if you're an LSU coaching staff member. It just is. The technology company's wife is sick of the short passing game being inefficient in the big house, and she needs a new quarterback. So happy wife, happy life, I guess. I know that we've got 4 houses in Nantucket and Aspen and Breckenridge and Tulum, but we're going to go get Bryce Underwood too. Sick. All right, we'll talk some LSU Oklahoma football coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. Mitchell Fisher and his local team are fantastic to work with, and they do a number of things. I talk to you about security systems all the time. They handled ours. If you're looking to get a security system at your business or at your home that's complete with all the cameras, the apps, everything that's got you set up at the top of a button, they can do that for you. They can also help you out with your outdoor entertainment space. If this is the time of year where you love to get out back when it's a little bit cooler, light the fire, listen to some tunes, or watch TV in the outdoor area, Mitchell Fisher and his team at Audio Video Security Solutions can help you out with all of that. They can supply the television. They can supply all of the equipment. Their install at the Palmer House was just painless and easy, and the customer service afterward has been great. They can do simple things like I talked about mounting the television. They can also do complex things as well. So give them a call or just check them out online, avssla.com. It's Audio Video Security Solutions.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Congratulations to Jesse Sanchez from Belrose. Jesse is the Week 13 winner in our 2024 College Football Pick'em Contest and wins a Hooters wing party for 10 people. Don't forget to make your picks for the final round by this Thursday, Thanksgiving at noon. Weekly winners will receive a Hooters wing party for 10 people, and the first place season-long champion who will be crowned after this week, of course, is the last week of the season. He'll get a 75-inch 4K flat-screen TV and soundbar plus free Hooters wings for an entire year. It's the 2024 College Football Pick'em Contest presented by Hooters.
Speaking of Pick'em, we've got to squeeze 3 shows into one tomorrow, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Going to have to do some picks against the spread for the SEC.
Yep.
Pick LSU in Oklahoma. Have to pick the Saints and Rams. Got to get, see, we got What If Wednesday. We got J.D. Pickell.
Yep.
Got a lot to talk about on tomorrow's show. What's your confidence level in my ability, rivalry weekend, to just go nuts and get back to 500?
Well, I know what you can do to get back to 500, Hunt.
Win a lot of games?
No, that's do Costanza picks. Now, you can swallow your pride.
My pride. It's
You can swallow
wounded if
your
I have
pride.
to do that.
Swallow your pride, do the Costanza picks, and listen, here's the deal. Next year, when we come back and look at this record, no one's going to remember that's what you did, okay? They're just going to see the record and see that you were over 500.
It's like the golfer that cheats. You're just cheating yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
You know you cheated. You know you didn't actually do that, which is why I don't really get people that cheat on the golf course. People do it all the time.
I agree with you there. But at the same time, you're still making the picks, Hunt. Even though it's going against what you think you should do, you're still at the end of the day deciding this is who I want to pick for this game, and you're going to win.
No, it's really not. It's actually just saying you're an idiot, so make sure that you guard against that by doing the opposite.
But that's good. That's a good recognition on your part, recognizing that you're just wrong most of the time.
Great, that's awesome. I'm wrong about I got to pick. I mean, well, let's see. What's my record picking LSU games? I picked LSU to beat USC. That's a loss.
Yep.
I picked Ole Miss to beat LSU. That's a loss. Mm-hmm. I picked LSU to beat who was the A&M. That's a loss. I picked them to beat Alabama. That's a loss. I picked LSU. I picked LSU to beat Florida. That's a loss. I picked Vanderbilt to beat LSU. I have lost 6 LSU games on straight up, not even against the spread.
Yep.
How many they played? 11?
Yes.
I've lost more than I've won, and that includes games with FCS teams.
UCLA and Nichols in South Alabama. You got those 3.
Wow. So I've gotten from the conference games, right? I've gotten Arkansas and South Carolina.
That's
right.
It.
That's it.
Wow, you picked Vandy and you picked LSU and all the other ones.
That's impressive. Very impressive. All right, let's talk some more LSU in Oklahoma. As I was if you were listening at the top of the show, I talked about Oklahoma's offense and what the statistics just told me raw. No film, no highlights, no explanations, just raw numbers. What did it say about the offense? And it was a lot of bad. But I told you that I do this every week, and I take the statistics. If they're bad, I put them in yellow. If they're good, I put them in green. This sheet from the offense has absolutely 0 green on it. Defensive sheet, there is some green. There is some good stuff that Oklahoma does, and it's not surprising because I'll tell you this. My first real experience with Brent Venables, and actually was not my first ever, because Brent Venables was helping to call the defense in the national championship that LSU won of the 2003 season, January of 2004. Mike Stoops was moving on, and Venables, he was the defensive coordinator, and Venables ended up calling plays in that national championship game. And so that was actually my first time watching LSU play against him, but I don't remember much about that other than Justin Vincent breaking a long touchdown run. Wasn't really, as a sophomore in high school, breaking down the schematics of how things were going. But a little older and wiser when LSU played Clemson in January of 2020, when Venables was defensive coordinator there for Dabo Swinney. And you could very much tell that was as exotic a defense as LSU had played to that point. Now, they were in bad field position the whole first quarter, and that helped Clemson to try to slow LSU down. And once LSU kind of figured some things out, but there was just a lot of guys coming to the line of scrimmage and then dropping back, a lot of delayed blitzes, a lot of exotic blitzes that were bringing a lot of folks from one side. It was, you could tell just watching the game that Clemson had an exotic defense. And so I figured when he took that job at Oklahoma that he would get the defense playing very well. And I wouldn't suggest the defense has been great. They're 8th in the conference in scoring defense, so that's middle of the pack. But what they try to do is very evident in the numbers. They create negative plays and havoc at a very, very high rate. They are 3rd in the SEC in sacks. They are 2nd in the SEC in tackles for loss. They are really good at not allowing big plays on the ground. They're 2nd in the SEC in opponent run plays for 10 yards or more. They are 3rd in terms of yard per carry allowed. So they're creating negative plays. They're getting sacks. They're slowing down the run game. And they're being very aggressive. And that means they force turnovers. They're 3rd in the SEC in turnovers forced. And they've been really good in the red zone. They're 2nd in the SEC in red zone defense. But what's the maybe Achilles heel to a team that's exotic, that's aggressive, that's trying to create havoc and make plays in the backfield? You can give up plays down the field. And they are 13th in the SEC out of 16 teams in opposing passes of 20 or more yards. They've given up 37 of those in this game. So this feels like, to me, based on the last 2 years of LSU's track record, that LSU may have some trouble running the football against Oklahoma. They're going to have to make Oklahoma respect the pass and respect the deep pass specifically to open up some of the ground game. And that's something that they just have gotten away from later in the season. They just have not hit big plays through the air. That has to change on Saturday. They're not going to just line up and run it right at Oklahoma. You don't need to dink and dunk your way down the field against Oklahoma. You need to go after them with some deep plays because teams have beaten them with the big play. And Garrett Nussmeier can do that. He really can. I tend to think, and this is without, poring over hours of film, but I think that Nussmeier has got the ability to hit the deep ball that maybe LSU's wide receivers this year just aren't as good at getting open for it. I think if you give Garrett Nussmeier the 2 guys from last year, the 2 guys that lit Venables up in 2020, in January of 2020, then I think Nussmeier would hit some deep plays. But I think you've got a group right now of wideouts that is better 8 yards from the line of scrimmage, making plays in the screen game, than they are hitting the deep ball. And we thought that Chris Hilton might come in and alleviate some of that, and that just hasn't happened necessarily. Hilton did make a catch on Saturday, but they haven't been able to blow the top off of a defense with Chris Hilton. That's something that LSU needs to try to do. Because I do trust LSU's offensive line to pass guys off and communicate against an exotic blitzing defense. That should be the strength for LSU. And if that fails, LSU's offense will fail. It failed against Texas A&M, and it failed to an extent against Alabama. So while that's the strength of Oklahoma, I think LSU can offset that. They then need to attack the weakness of Oklahoma, the big play. That's a big picture game plan, in my estimation, for Joe Sloan, for Garrett Nussmeier, for LSU in this game coming up on Saturday. They're probably not going to have to score 35 points to win this game. So it doesn't have to be an all-night type deal. You don't have to beat them in the way that Ole Miss beat you last year. But you're going to have to create some big plays, and you're probably going to have to score 24, 27 points to win the game. Oklahoma, incidentally, this year, averages allowing 20 points per game. As I mentioned, that's 8th in the SEC. So those are some stats. I'll have some key matchups to look up tomorrow on LouisianaSports.net, and we'll get to some of those on the show tomorrow as well. As I mentioned, we are out on Thursday and Friday of this week. We'll have one more show tomorrow on Wednesday. We'll get to a lot of things there. So if Wednesday is your travel day, like it will be for me after I'm done with the show, lock us in for Wednesday's shows. We're going to step out on Thursday, and then the only show that'll be on during the day on Friday will be live at lunch from Ruffino. So we'll come back and close out this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. Jonathan Carbo and his team, fantastic to work with. They're right here in Baton Rouge, but they can help you out statewide, wherever you are. They can help you in Mississippi. Anywhere you're listening, the Highland Insurance Group is happy to help. If you are a business owner and you don't have a great relationship with your insurance broker, my question would be why? And you can fix that. Think of the Highland Insurance Group as a consultant for your insurance program. The same way that you think of your legal team as part of your team, same way you think of your CPA as part of your team. You trust them. Trust your insurance broker. Don't just find the dude who cold called you and said, I can cut off these coverages and save you 20%. That's one way to buy insurance, but it's probably not the right way. The Highland Insurance Group can help you do it the right way. Employment practices liability, crime, cyber, D&O, umbrella. These can be confusing if you've never really studied insurance policies. That's what Jonathan Carver and his team at the Highland Insurance Group are here to do. They're here to help you to make sure your business is protected. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them online, HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Reminder to get on by Pluckers tonight. 2 locations, Nicholson just south of campus, Blue Mountain in front of the Ball of Louisiana tonight, sports trivia on Tuesday. We always welcome new teams to come on out and try your hand at some sports trivia. It's a great time. Got some cold beers, great food, basketball on TV. There's some really good hoops on tonight that we'll be watching over at Pluckers. And you can win gift cards all night long. It's from 8 o'clock till just about 10. Usually gets you out of there about 9:45. For 8:30 sports trivia at Nicholson. So bring a team, come by yourself, win some gift cards. It's Pluckers. They bring you our Tuesday shows each and every week. Tomorrow's show, as we mentioned, we're going to squeeze a lot into it. We're going to do picks for LSU and Oklahoma, as well as the Saints and Rams. Get my final SEC picks against the number. We will do What If Wednesday. JD Piquel from 1-3 Sports is going to join us. Matthew Bruni will be with us as well to talk about some LSU basketball as the Tigers are back on the hardwood coming up on Friday. If you wanted my thoughts on Chris Senak at the end of hour number 1, I gave you those. He is set to announce in 45 minutes. My read on the national tea leaves, which are generally pretty accurate, are that Houston is very likely going to be the pick, but he can't sign on the dotted line today. Got to wait until April to get that done. So we'll see if he commits to LSU today, or if LSU can maybe make a push over the next 4 months to try to get Chris Senak to Baton Rouge. New Orleans native. Stands to reason there's a chance, but we'll see. All right, back. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
Alrighty, first one here. Star outfielder Juan Soto reportedly has 5 offers on the table from the Boston Red Sox, the LA Dodgers, New York Mets, New York Yankees, and the Toronto Blue Jays. None of those are the Cubs. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. None of those teams are the Cubs. Here's the deal. I'm learning more about this as time goes on. And what needs to happen is the Oracle guy needs to buy the Cubs.
Oh, wow. What an idea.
And then his wife needs to ask him for Juan Soto. That's how things get done this day and age.
I know. I think they already sponsor the Giants.
They do.
Is that correct? So I'm not sure that they would want to go buy the Cubs.
But the Cubs are better than the Giants. It's a more fun thing to do.
The Giants have won, 4 World Series in the last 20 years?
I don't care about that. I care about the Cubs, and I want Juan Soto to play for the Cubs. I need the Oracle guy to buy Juan Soto for his wife.
Well, let's think of somebody Chicago. Who in Chicago? Maybe There's got to be some billionaire in Chicago that.
I'm sure there are a lot of billionaires. I mean, I think the Ricketts are billionaires.
I mean, they are, but they're not billionaires like to spend money. Apparently, they're
no,
really
they're not.
tight
Well,
with their money.
they do spend money. It's not on baseball players.
Yeah,
they buy buildings and restaurants and hotels and stuff.
They're worried about the fan
None
experience.
of those do me any good at all.
You know,
right fielders do me good. Restaurants do not.
Yeah, they do all these things for the quote-unquote fan experience.
I'm the fan.
But here's the thing, Hunt. The fan experience would be a lot better if they were winning World Series.
How about if we just go 2 games under 500 and let the Brewers kick our teeth in? Is that good?
That's not good for the fan experience.
But the Hotel Zachary's looking really good.
Yeah, it's nice.
Whatever that place is. God,
yeah.
Makes me so sad. I need the Oracle guy.
We need him.
Or maybe Alyssa, my wife, will launch a bajillion-dollar tech industry.
Oh, maybe.
And then we'll buy the Cubs.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell her, because she did that, I want Juan Soto, because she started this multi-trillion-dollar tech company, she'll get Juan Soto.
That's not a bad idea.
Now we're cooking.
Yeah.
I got to tell her about this later, that she needs to do that. Leave the kids' ear, nose, and throats alone.
You can take care of Myers, man, while she goes build the tech giant.
Yes, I can. That's true. Or I can do like I did today and put him in my cousin's car and send him to Shreveport and not deal with him for 48 hours.
That works too.
That does work really well.
Yeah. All right, next one here. Number 9 Alabama plays number 6 Houston in Las Vegas tonight. The Cougs are a 4.5 point favorite. You're pulling for the conference strength and Coach Oates. Take it or leave it. I can't do that. I'm sorry. I don't care. I'm not pulling for Alabama.
I'm going to leave it. I'm going to be mad at Houston in 50 minutes too.
Yeah.
When they take the best player out of New Orleans in the last decade out of my grasp.
Again, another billionaire that's going to go out and pay for his players.
Yeah, Tillman Fertitta. He got a lot of restaurants. Likes basketball.
Likes
builds
the Rockets.
gyms. Yeah. Man, I'm not pulling for Alabama. I'm pulling for Houston. I can't pull for Nate Oates. He is unlikable. He has beaten me badly many times over the years, and I do not want him to do well. It does help LSU fractionally. If Alabama were to win that game, you're looking at conference strength and conference net or conference RPI or whatever it is, and you're supposed to pull for the SEC in these sports that get subjective.
I'm fine with that. Just go win. How about you just win some games? Don't worry about the other teams. Just go win. How about that?
Well, it all matters, Beck.
No, it doesn't.
Everything
if
matters.
LSU goes undefeated in the SEC, they're going to be a 1 seed in the conference in the NCAA tournament, no matter what Alabama does against Houston.
We go 18-0.
Yeah,
that's going to be tough to do.
I mean, like would they go 14-4 a couple years ago? They can do it.
I believe 16-2.
Yeah, so it could be done.
That was the first year of Hoops with Hunt when they did that. They just could not lose for a while there. They were down. I'll have to go look this up. They were down like 8. They were down like 8 with like 70 seconds left at Missouri, and like threw in 3 threes and got it to overtime and won.
I remember
just
that game.
Absurd. That team was good though.
One more here. Giants coach Brian Dable says that Tommy DeVito is quote unquote not 100% to play on Thanksgiving against the Dallas Cowboys.
Show me cutlets.
The Giants could use Daniel Jones. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. They don't need Daniel Jones. He's not good.
Okay, but Tommy DeVito can't play.
Lock.
What are they going to do? Okay, Drew Lock's the answer.
Drew Lock is top 5 in the SEC in career passing yards.
Yeah.
That's a little Pluckers trivia coming out there.
Oh, all right.
Not for tonight. It's just in the past we've used that.
Yeah.
He threw for a lot of yards at Missouri. I believe Derek Dooley was calling the plays for him.
Wow.
So
what a callback there.
It's just a nice effort by Drew Lock to be able to overcome that.
It is.
We'll see if he can overcome whatever's going on. I mean, what a disaster. Malik's at it up there.
Oh, yeah.
He's furious. Dable's getting fired. The ownership's getting cranky.
Did you see what Malik Neighbors said after the game?
It's not the quarterback.
Yeah.
Sick of losing.
What is it? I don't know. Ask the coach. Not a great look, to be honest.
It's just not. There's not a lot going well for Malik and BTJ right now. BTJ is down there in Jacksonville. They lose a bunch.
Trevor Lawrence forgot how to be a good quarterback somehow. He was good for a little bit there. Not anymore.
Not anymore. That's it, I guess, for a Tuesday edition of the Palmer Show. It kind of feels like Thursday.
It does feel like Wednesday.
I don't really know what we're doing. I'm excited to get to Pluckers tonight. But if you missed any of the show today, you can catch it on demand wherever you find your podcasts. Also want to let you know that Hoops with Hunt is kind of back. It is back, but it's not all the way back, but it's back. If you enjoyed Hoops with Hunt, ready to get into some college basketball, every time we do a basketball segment here on the Hunt Palmer Show, it'll be uploaded to that old podcast feed. So if you follow it, like, subscribe, you'll get our Hoops content every single day. You can also search it wherever you find podcasts as well. Open the show today talking about this Oklahoma offense. It is not very good, and I gave you some of the reasons why. Sharif Ishak at 1:15 talking Saints. You can find that at YouTube. Hunt on Saints. Glenn West talking Tigers. You can find that on YouTube as well at Hunt on LSU. My thoughts on Chris Senak. He will be committing in 35 minutes coming up here, and we don't think it's going to go the way of the good guys. Had some discussions about LSU football in hour number 2, including how Bryce Underwood got flipped from LSU. If you missed that, you can catch it Hunt on LSU or go back wherever you find podcasts and catch us. That's it for us on this Tuesday. Hope to see you tonight at Pluckers. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further Review. We're back same time, same place tomorrow for a Wednesday edition of
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electrical for 40 years. If you do something for 40 years, you got a pretty good idea of what you're doing. Their son Justin is kind of taking the reins now. They just do fantastic work. They install Generac home standby generators, home or at the business as well. If you're a business owner, commercial property owner, and you're looking for generators, Boudreaux's Electrical can absolutely help you out with that. You're never going to hear me talk about some club you need to join or some additional fee you need to pay to be a VIP member at Boudreaux's Electrical. That's just not how they do business. Everyone that they work with is treated like a VIP. And part of that is your generator's monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If something goes wrong, they've got more than 10 techs they can send out in the field to make sure that you're taken care of so that when the power does go off, your generator comes right on. Power outages are an inevitability down here. Protect yourself with the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. You can find them online at boudreauxelectrical.com. That's boudreauxelectrical.com.